My sugar daddy asks me for weird favors. His Tinder profile said he was 45, but he looked to be in his early 30s at most, looking for a sugar baby, $700 weekly, no sex. I cringed at that word, but $700 was $700. His name was Jack. Claimed to own his own business, but never specified what kind. I stared at the $700 for at least 20 minutes, expecting to wake up from a dream at any second. But it wasn't a dream. I clicked on the message. Yeah. Sorry, if you don't mind me asking, what are you looking for in return? I stared at the chat until he replied, Hey, you're still there. I agreed to pick up a package for Jack. Unsure of what I was getting into, the house where I was directed to go stood out, surrounded by much nicer houses. You here for Jack's shit? The man asked from the open doorway, towering over me. Yeah, I guess I replied. His voice rumbled, Stay right there. I didn't move. I actually don't think I would have moved if he had asked me to. I looked around and realised that there was no one else on this street. I was a 21-year-old woman alone in the street. I gripped my car keys. A few minutes later, the man came back out carrying a cardboard box. It was about the size of a shoebox, but stained and damp on some of the corners. Can you open your car? He asked. I opened the trunk, not wanting that inside of my car seats, and he set it in. All right, there you go, he said. Thanks, I replied. I blasted my music as I drove to Jack's house, hoping it would drown out my anxiety. It didn't. I parked my car in the stone driveway and stayed inside the car, admiring the house. I set the package down on the coffee table, and as I walked back to the door, I heard a phone ringing from somewhere inside the house. I froze. In my pocket, my phone buzzed. Took it out to look. I don't answer any calls that aren't from Marvin's, the message read. I put my phone back and followed the sound of the phone, poking my head into a few different rooms before I found it in an office. I walked over to the desk and looked at the caller ID. Incoming call from Jack. That was odd. I grabbed my phone to look at the message again. I was starting to get a little bit creeped out and decided I wouldn't answer, just to be safe, and left the house, remembering to lock the door as I left. We've done a few more favours for Jack since then. I drove a BMW to a random park in another city, only to get out and drive a different car back to Jack's house. He had me meet one of his employees at lunch, who then gave me a briefcase to deliver to the first house I had gone to, and told me he would know if I looked inside. On several occasions, he asked me to drive down to that same house and stay with the guy, whose name was Julio, for a certain amount of time. In total, I've made around $3,500. Most recently, Jack asked me to stay in his house overnight. I woke up to a text message from him. I need you to spend the night at my house. I hadn't ever seen him in person, but I had talked to him on the phone a few times. He proceeded to tell me he would pay me $1,000 to spend the night at his house, provided that I followed a few rules. Lock the door when you come in. Only answer calls from Marvin. Don't turn on any faucets between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. Don't open the door for anyone after 10 p.m. If the door to the closet at the end of the hall is open, sleep in the library. If sleep in any of the bedrooms. The gardener comes at midnight. If he start knocking on the windows, hide. Turn the TV on and let it play on static through the night. Do not forget to do this. Help yourself to anything in the fridge. I'll pay you in the morning. Good night. Still, it felt a little odd. What was this? A haunted house. Nevertheless, I lounged around the house for a few hours, as I was planning on going to sleep around 9, since that's the time that all the weird shit would begin to happen. At Ifty, I brushed my teeth, using the faucet for the last time before 9. I checked the closet in the hallway, and upon seeing that it was open, I moved my stuff into the library and got ready to sleep on the couch. I locked the doors just in case and laid on the couch, scrolling through my phone. We had dozed off at some point because at exactly 16 p.m. I was woken up by the doorbell ringing. I was about to get up to check, but then I remembered the rule. Don't open the door for anyone after 10 p.m. I stayed on the couch trying not to move, paranoid that they would hear even the slightest sound. It's the police. Open up. I still didn't move, but I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. There was silence for a while after that. Then the doorbell rang again. Hey, it's Jack, let me in. It sounded like Jack, but still I didn't get up. He would have a key, wouldn't he? Why would he need me to let him in? This continued for almost a full hour. Different people would ring the doorbell, announce themselves, and then disappear when I didn't respond. I was finally able to fall asleep, and the gardener never came. When I woke up the next morning, I heard someone in the kitchen. I got up slowly and unlocked the door as quietly as possible, taking my phone with me and walking across the living room and into the kitchen. It was Jack. He was standing in front of the stove stirring something as the coffee machine brewed coffee on the counter behind him. "Hey, good morning," he said when he saw me. "Hi," I replied, nervous. I hadn't seen him in person before, but he looked exactly like his pictures online. "Scrambled eggs," he asked, motioning to the pan with a wooden spoon. "Yeah, thanks," I replied, walking over to take the plate from him. I ate my breakfast and drank some coffee in silence. "So how was it?" he asked. "It was okay. Nothing super freaky happened," I replied. "Cool," he replied. There was an awkwardness in the room. "I think I'm going to go now. I have class," I trailed off. "Oh no, yeah, sure. I'll talk to you some other time," he replied. I grabbed my stuff, and he walked me to my car. I could see him standing in the driveway, staring at me as I left. When I got home, I unpacked all my stuff and noticed that I still had the list with me. I sat on my bed and read it again. I felt my body tense up as I realised that I had forgotten something. I turned the TV on and let it play on static through the night. "Do not forget to do this." I stared at the words on the page until they lost meaning. Beside me, my phone buzzed, snapping me back to reality. It was the $1,000 payment. I looked at my phone and then back at the list. Maybe it was an important step. As I was thinking this over, a text from Jack came in. "I'm not in town right now. I should be back next week. So you're free from running any more errands for me until then. Just sent the payment. Go do something fun." I stared at the message and read it again and again, and once more for good measure. "I'm not in town right now." I thought back to this morning and how Jack was in his house, how he gave me breakfast. "I'm not in town right now." Within minutes, a new text came in, this time from a number that I didn't recognise. "Did you forget to do something?" The text was followed by a picture of Jack, or whoever this version of Jack was, standing in front of the TV. I didn't respond. Next came another picture. This one was of the outside of my house. It was followed by another text. "Watch out.